Hello, my name is Dr. Nate Samuelson from Vallejo Health and Wellness Center. Today we're going to be talking about peripheral neuropathy. For many of you, you know that a peripheral neuropathy typically involves hands, arms, feet, legs, something that's one of your extremities. So a peripheral neuropathy is damage to the nerves that lie outside of your spine. So this is just a picture to show that the nerves that lie outside of your spine are considered part of the peripheral nervous system, so peripheral neuropathy. So neuropathy just means nerve condition. Now typically a peripheral neuropathy is associated with numbness, tingling, or pain in the extremities. Could be a combination, might be one or the other. Some of the common causes of a neuropathy are alcoholism, autoimmune conditions, which are huge. Diabetes is another huge one. Infections, trauma, pressure on nerves, which are very common as well. Vitamin deficiencies are more common than you might think. And then the last one, subluxation. So before we progress, we need to talk about what do nerves need to grow or to stay the same. First of all, they need stimulation. They need input coming in. They have to be in use. It's like a muscle. If you went to the gym and you worked out for 6 months, but then you stopped, you wouldn't retain that muscle. You would lose it. Same thing applies to nerves. If you don't use it, you lose it. The other thing is this fuel. They need glucose and oxygen, just like your brain does. Also, fatty acids. So fats are essential in nerve transmission. It's because that is what allows the signals to go from your finger to your brain in a very quick manner. Because if you didn't have fats lining your cells, but when you touch the hot plate on the stove, you wouldn't be able to take your hand off the stove in time before you burned it really badly. Alright, so what are the most common causes of a neuropathy? The first one is the subluxation. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And the other one, lack of food or stimulation for nerve growth. So the first one is a subluxation. So subluxation is a chiropractic term which means that a joint is stuck in its normal range of motion, so it's not moving. So your body treats that as an injury. And when there's an injury, the body creates inflammation because it's trying to heal that part of the body. That inflammation is going to irritate the nerves. And so now you're going to have numbness and tingling, pain, for example. And eventually, if you don't take pressure off that nerve, eventually you can die. Now think of your nerves as like a water hose, and inflammation as like your foot stepping on a water hose, or that joint that's not moving right as that foot stepping on a water hose. So if you're stepping on a water hose, does the water come out faster or does it come out slower? Right, it comes out slower. Pretty simple, right? So the same thing happens with a nerve. If you put pressure on the nerve, you're going to have slower signals. Eventually it's going to die. The first one that's going to die is sensation. So your numbness and tingling. Sensations are going to come first. And for those of you who have pain, you probably have lost your sensation part of the nerve. I want to talk about that here pretty quick. So in order to allow that nerve to regrow, you have to remove the subluxation. That's where the chiropractic adjustment comes into play. Very, very powerful. It can do significant amounts of good. So I mentioned that people with high amounts of pain have lost their sensation. Well, that's because sensation and pain travel to the exact same part of your spinal cord. So this is your spinal cord when we kind of cut it in half. And so all your nerve signals come right into your spinal cord right here. If you have sensation, it cuts down on the amount of pain signals that can get in there. And it's one of the ways the body inhibits pain. But if you lose this blue line, you're going to get all of that pain signals. And this is the reason why people will develop chronic pain conditions. This is also one of the reasons why people develop fibromyalgia. Part of it has to do with a lack of stimulation, because they have numbness and tingling in their hands, and so now that nerve dies, or a lack of nutrients. So here's a big question. Are neuropathies permanent? The vast majority are not permanent. But here's the big caveat. It takes a while for it to regrow. So nerves regrow at a rate of 1 inch per month under ideal conditions. That means you're perfectly healthy. For the vast majority of Americans, that does not apply. That is the reason why it takes time for nerves to heal. That's the reason why, if you've been dealing with this for years, it's gonna take time. So the quicker you take care of this, the quicker your recovery, and the better you're gonna feel sooner. All right. So again, to reiterate this point right here, if you don't have proper sensation, you are going to have too much pain. So we have to create those pathways again. So we have to address the root cause of your neuropathy. That's very important because each person is going to be different. For one person, it might have been a car accident, or they might have twisted funny picking something up. For someone else, it came on slowly, and they didn't really recall that they had anything until they started developing pain. And then when we do the tests, they find out they can't feel their hands or their feet. So we have to get to the root cause of the problem. And we will address each issue that is contributing to the cause of your condition. That's our promise to you. So what do nerves need to regrow? The exact same thing they need to maintain. Oxygen, glucose, fats, and I cannot emphasize this one enough. Stimulation. Stimulation, stimulation, stimulation. It is needed. So how do we find your root cause? Through a chiropractic and complete functional neurological exam. You will not receive a functional neurological exam from a medical neurologist. We're looking at specific parts of your brain. We're also looking at how that information gets from your hands to your spinal cord and then up to the brain. We look to see if there's any types of nutritional deficiencies by doing muscle testing. Well, if we need to, we can also run blood labs, urinalysis, or saliva tests to find out if you have a nutritional deficiency, if you have a heavy metal toxicity. Could even be blood sugar levels that we need to get under control, or it could even be an infection. We have to find out what it is in order for us to get you the results that you're looking for. So once we find out what's going on, then we can use the adjustments, the specific brain exercises to rehab the weak side of the brain or the nerves that need to regrow. Oxygen, as I've said many times already, needed to regrow nerves. Supplements to give them the proper nutrients, and then certain dietary modifications to allow your body to heal appropriately. With this complex approach, we can resolve your health issues. But we can only do this together. So together, we can track down the cause of your neuropathy. But we can only do this together, just like we can only treat together. So you can be like this little guy right here, standing at the end of the race, beating the condition that you thought was going to be lifelong, the pain that you thought you were going to have to live with, or the lack of feeling in your feet, or the lack of feeling in your hands. Let me leave you with this thought, is that the most common cause of death in the elderly is falls. Do you know why that is? Why they fall so frequently? Is because they can't feel their feet. They don't know it. And the vast majority of you out there don't know it either. You have to run the tests. Allow us to do that. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. A pretty wise man once said that. So allow us to help you. Come in and let us find the root cause of your problem. So schedule your appointment today by calling the number listed below. So it was a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to meeting you. So have a wonderful rest of your day.